Well, I'm going to let this go. Hi, Jedi. Yeah, it'll stay up to catch up. I'm really just disgusted. And what happened in your chat, Jedi? Why I timed out John, you know damn well. Well, you don't know because you're busy doing your work. But in the chat, what he was doing, I mean, you know damn well he has an agenda. He's an Australian with an agenda. He does the paramilitary talk, whether he's a honeypot working for the authorities or whether he's one of the terrorists, I don't know. Because you're in with a lot of these guys. You don't really, you are a cannabis addict, Jedi. I'm going to put it on the line now because I'm probably not going to bother going to your show at all anymore. It's obvious you're a cannabis addict. This cult runs cannabis as an addiction drug. You're able to work with people like Dave Acton, the Swigert brothers. You're doing enough research to know damn well what happened at Fort Natchez is part of an ongoing war. And it's a war that has heated up recently here in Texas. And I have to get out of talking to a lot of you guys and get out of the chats because I'm so tempted to say things I know I cannot say. But it's very real. And it's war. White Knight is saying he thought he was okay. He acts like he's okay. He's more intelligent than his comrade Telly. But he came in with Telly. Now, put in this YouTube search, put Telly, comma, Chit Chat, and Clovis. What I know about the Aussie guys is this. Telly works with Ed Stairs. That's the other thing, Jedi. You're friendly, not you, but Hoax Wars is really fully involved and committed with this group. Hoax Wars is very friendly with Ed Stairs. Ed Stairs is the child porn distributor, works with Clovis Harmon. Telly and John work with Clovis Harmon. Telly is, you go to Clovis Harmon's channels, you're going to find if you put Telly and Clovis into YouTube search, you're going to see some videos come up with Telly in the title. They're her videos. They're having conversations about Telly's job, his work, his agenda to control who gets up on the platforms to protect the pedophile ring. The pred catchers who are actually they're more like predator collectors. You know, they're predator protectors. They're going heavy after the few members of that community who appear to be trying to actually do the real job. Lisa, it's not just about substance abuse. It's about the fact that cannabis is known to disable that part of our brain that you might say rushes to judgment, the part of the brain that causes you to be more alert and aware and resistant. That's what it disinhibits you. It makes you susceptible to suggestibility. Quite different, for example, from probably alcohol. You tell an alcoholic when he's drunk to do something and he's probably going to punch you. He's more likely to punch you than to do it. Alcohol kind of pushes people in an oppositional direction. But cannabis is known to push people in a cooperative direction. That's why it's always been the hippie drug. Let's relax and have peace, love, and happiness. And that's why it's hard to get somebody who uses cannabis to understand who they're hanging with. Jedi's a nice guy. He hangs with the wrong people. I thought the same thing of Hoax Wars, but Hoax Wars knows that he's openly promoting pedophiles. He's openly protecting them, and he's involved. You know, he's comfortable with them. Jedi's just trying to be tolerant of people in his chat. but he allowed a bunch of people to do this voodoo gatekeeping stuff with the voodoo doll and making personal remarks about me and my family. When I started giving him little 60-second timeouts, he says, oh, nobody times John out. Why? Because John is controlling Jedi's channel, because Jedi has to toe the line. He believes he's got a career ahead of himself. He doesn't. But he's on cannabis. He's on cannabis. So the only career he has in front of him is continuing to be a good little plantation darky, a little nappy-headed boy. So White Knight says, I don't use anything, so please explain all this. White Knight probably talked to Lisa Lake. She knows there are studies. A lot of them might be harder to find if you're using Google. Probably use DuckDuckGo or one of the other things to do searches on cannabis studies. It goes back to the 60s and 70s when cannabis really came into widespread use. That's when there really started to be enough statistical use of it for the studies. It's not a bad thing. If you're trying to help somebody control anger or get off of alcohol or do other things, I think you're probably better off to use cannabis if you have an anxiety issue than to use prescription drugs. I'm not for criminalization. I do believe cannabis, it's right for it to be legal. But just like everything else, you have to understand what you're using and why you're using it. And it's everybody's choice. It's everybody's choice. But also you notice it. I mean, you notice if your buddy's drunk, you're not going to let him drive you somewhere. You're going to tell him, hey, I'll sit and talk with you, but I'm calling a cab to get home. You just use anyway, whatever. But I had to put this out there because I didn't really get the timing. I know that Terry Joyce goes on about and on because Terry Joyce, they're taking advantage of her mental illness. They're taking advantage of her inability to understand that she's being manipulated. I mean, unless she's doing an Owen Benjamin, unless she's doing an Owen Benjamin and acting, believing that this is the right thing to do, to play this game, to do the Jussie Smollett victim lock crap, and not care about putting in fact, they need to put innocent, unsuspecting people in the way because that gives it more realistic effect. That's why they love it when they find somebody who is an actual crime victim that they can use to make their own acts look real. Well, I'm out of here. Apocalypse Fetish. That's an interesting name. God bless some, have mercy on some, and to hell with the rest. Pick the group you're in. Denise Matteau, over and out.